Would help if I unmuted the mic. Hey, everybody. Hammers in the morning. WNBC. 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 It's WNBC. She doesn't like it. That's why I'm doing it. Hammers in the morning. WNBC. 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 What's going on, Morbid? My fan is here. It's getting warm. So what do you so I got the background up. I play the tuning song a little bit. I just need the guitar to look like I'm sincere. No, I don't want to flat. I don't want to flat it. Oh, for crying out loud! Share the Discord. Yeah. I bought this thing out here. I played it so infrequently, it's gathering dust. Which was not the intention. WNBC. I very much just wing it, Captain April. Come on, you wacky G. Oh, it's only a matter of time before I'm canceled.
Are you live?
I'm live. No, I'm Memorex.
What am I hearing? Oh, my room. I'm like, I'm hearing something. I'm hearing something. Do you want this light on you?
Yeah.
This extra light?
No, actually, yeah, no.
We can turn on this light to balance out the...
Morbid Fury says hey.
Hello? Here.
Is it finished charging?
No, I'm just gonna move it here on the plug. So, and this one on. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. You can show the light. Is it in the way of the camera though?
It's in the way of the camera.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
You can adjust
A special love I have for you. My baby blue. Yeah, now I'm demonetized. Now I owe the estate of Pete Ham 3 cents. So what's going on, everybody? Playing my games, just seeing how it goes. I was gonna play Ghostbusters, but only a couple ways of seeing Cheap Trick. Yes. Hey, it's me again. Plain to see again. Yeah. Hopefully they're gonna. You sure it's Pete's estate, not his dirtbag manager? Probably his dirtbag manager. Actually, no, he's dead now. Stan Pauly died in 2009. God, if there's one guy, and we're coming up tomorrow on what would have been Pete Ham's 75th birthday. And Pete, let me edit this. Robb shoots the you know what. Robb shoots the Shinola. Pete Ham's 75th birthday. Birthday celebration. Yeah, I officially made this Pete Ham's 75th birthday celebration stream. Let me bring up a picture of Pete in the background here. Hold on. Background image. Let me bring up a picture of him. Browse. Badfinger. It's my wallpapers. Wallpapers. Here we go. Okay. That's okay. There we go. There we go. There's a handsome lad right there. Can't wait. Haven't seen them before. So yeah. So there's. Sadly, is the one guy in the quote unquote 27 club that people don't often name. He was just a couple days short of his 28th birthday. Made Alan Klein look like a Girl Scout. Yeah. Stan Pauly was a shifty bastard from the beginning. I mean, he had ties to organized crime. His business partner Stan Poses didn't trust him one bit. Pete called him in his suicide note a soulless bastard. You know, yeah, granted, how did he ever get mixed up with him? You know, Pete run this picture here is playing an SG. You know, one of the reasons why I got this. You know, Joey Molland played SGs too. Yeah, it's Joey Molland, Tom Evans, there's Mike. Hold on. Yeah, I know. Let me see. Edit. Change. It's officially Pete Ham's 75th birthday stream now. For want of a better thing here. Here we go. You know, it's just tragic, you know. Tell Mecca the Tim Pool read her tweet. Yeah, we were taking a walk and we saw that. We heard it. We heard it live as it happened.
Yeah, we're listening to him play Pokemon. Monday we were listening to Cox and Frendor.
Steve Botham, how you doing? You know, I just bought the album, the extended version of the album "Wish You Were Here." On yes, I did.
Okay.
It's this image here.
Okay.
I just bought the extended version of the album "Wish You Were Here" on Amazon, and you know, for years you couldn't.
Hi. I'm bothering you. Yeah, I heard. Hi.
Hi.
I heard my name. I got someone. I'll go away. What?
For years you couldn't buy it. So all through the mid to late 70s through the 80s, large portion of the 90s, couldn't buy any Pete's or any Bad Fingers music. Then the lap of lawsuits got settled. And they got reissued on CD, and I went down to Cutler's in New Haven, which is not there anymore. Ran down the day it was released, ran down, got my copy of Straight Up, and I was, to say I was elated is not the right term. It was like Christmas morning. Yes, it was first band signed to Apple. And, you know, I'd gotten Magic Christian. Yeah, I had Magic Christian. I actually bought the Ivies album on Maybe Tomorrow on CD too, just because I'm a completist. And they said when Straight Up was released on CD, it was, like I said, it was like Christmas morning for me. Finally, I was going to have a pristine copy of Straight Up. After years listening to scratchy records, that have been played over and over and over, and not knowing if you were ever going to get the best quality album, not knowing what condition they were going to be in, having jackets fall apart. Here it was. I got what I wanted, Straight Up. And it was revelatory. It was how it was meant to be listened to. I'm not one of those guys who says sometimes you like to hear those records with all the crackles and pops, but no, I don't want to hear those crackles and pops. If I wanted to hear those crackles and pops, I'd eat a bowl of Rice Krispies. Hey, Hezekiah Duckworth, how you doing? Hey, David Morris. And Pete was actually, obviously I never met the man. I was 5 years old when he died tragically. But Pete Ham was one of those guys that he would have become like a Paul McCartney if he had lived. I don't think that's an exaggeration. He would be revered in those upper echelons of songwriters. And Tom Evans and Tom Evans would have been a Lennon McCartney. I had the honor of meeting Joey Mullen years later, and he said that if Pete was alive, if Tommy was alive, if he was alive, they would have been together. They would still have been together. And this was in the '90s. This was, they would have, they were poised to become big. Even like when they signed to Warner Brothers, they were poised to become big. They signed actually a $3 million deal at Warner Brothers, like in 73, 74, 73, I believe. They signed a $3 million deal. And it was actually one of the biggest deals at the time. So for his many, many, many faults, Stan Polly actually did that for him. But unfortunately, he was just leading a lamb to the slaughter. Like I said, even like between, I got an itch. Even between the last album, Ass, and Wish You Were Here, he was still growing as a songwriter. I mean, if you listen to you listen to some of those tracks on Ass, like Song for a Lost Friend. Those actually shows you he was still growing as a songwriter. And then you listen to Wish You Were Here, and he just elevated his songwriting to another level. Even though Straight Up's my favorite album, Wish You Were Here is probably a better album. It was recorded actually at Caribou Ranch out in Nederland, Colorado, and it was they actually had a very short time to record it. And they worked with producer Chris Thomas. Chris Thomas went out. He produced Back to the Egg with Paul McCartney. He actually produced quite a few records. But they recorded it within a short time. Joey Mullen quit, I believe, during that time. He came back, and they finished the album. And the album was selling very well. The album was selling 25,000 copies a week before it got pulled. But what? Let's see what the story is. It's not an anecdote. Hot Pop Purgatory, this was been stewing for 45 years straight. Oof. It's got to be bad by now. I really like your good guitar, Rob. Thanks. I like it too. That's why I bought it. I like how Larry Nilsson took Without You, a throwaway filler tune. There's just a slight change in arrangement. Big as yes. And that shows you the talent of his songwriting. I mean, is that him and Tommy Evans? In that they have the two complementary styles. Pete had the very sweet line, and Tommy had the very kind of acerbic line. I can't live living this without you. And it's Pete had, well, I can't forget this evening and your face when you were leaving, but I guess that's just the way the story goes. And again, it shows you the two complementary styles. Well, again, back to they recorded "Wish You Were Here." I think it was recorded within 2 weeks. They finished the album. And it's selling well. And then Warner Brothers pulls it because Stan Polly had well, the man's dead. We can say about this. Stan Polly, evidence came out that Stan Polly had there was a very large advance, $100,000 advance missing, and it looks like Stan Polly allegedly took it. And so Warner Brothers pulled the album. That was it. That was the end. That was essentially the end of the band. And Pete was trying to get a hold of somebody, and as Joey Mullen and Mike Gibbons said, Pete was trying to get a hold of somebody in New York, in Stan Polly's office, trying to get a hold of Stan. He was in a meeting. He was in L.A. He was trying to get a hold of Stan and trying to get a hold of his secretary, and eventually he couldn't get a hold of the secretary anymore. And by that time, Pete was living with his girlfriend, Ann Ferguson, and they were expecting their first child. And he had a house, he had a mortgage, and he gets off the phone with somebody in New York, and he has this grim look on his face as the story goes, and Ann said to Pete, what's wrong? And he says, I want to go talk to Tommy. And so they go to the pub, and in an interview later, Tommy Evans says to him, Pete says to Tommy Evans says, Pete said to him, the situation's not good, And Pete said, and Tom said to Pete, we all know it's not good, Pete. We're just waiting for you to realize it. And so he drops him off at 3 a.m. and just says, I'll see you. I'll be seeing you. And Ann wakes up the next day, calls Tommy Evans screaming Pete's dead. And that was it. Man was talent like that just snuffed out needlessly and for no good reason. But between that, they actually recorded another album. There was an album with Bob Jackson, who replaced Joey Mullen, called Head First. I have that album on CD somewhere. I don't know where it is. I think my brother has it. It's not great, but but Warner Bros. Refused to release that as well. That got re-released years later. So what is this now? You're sending me? Hot Purgatory. This Thai soup has been stewing for 45 years. Okay. "90 profiles next Star Trek Picard episode." Oh, for God's sake. Oh, please. I'm not interested in Star Trek Picard anymore. Hold on, I gotta turn the camera off a second here. So, gotta do something rude. There we go. So, where was I? I don't know. I don't even remember anymore. Who cares? But the whole, Baby Blue was one of the first songs that somebody actually, I don't want to say I learned to play, somebody taught me it. It's got this weird chord progression in the middle eight. He goes, what can I do? How's it go? Now I've forgotten. What can I do? Let's get this weird chord. What the hell's that chord? And it goes back to B. It goes E. I know this is simulation using Unreal Engine. Is this real life? No, it's not. Believe me, Captain April, if this were a simulation, then I'd be a rock star. If I could, Okay. Yeah, so there's, so what's this about this soup? Let me see. Let me see what's going on with this soup. Display capture, let me see what's going on. What's this now? Just glad I don't have anything naughty listed up here. Hot Purgatory. This Thai soup has been stewing for 45 years straight. The family's chefs of Bangkok's Watana Panic restaurant have been reusing the same pot of broth for nearly half a century, creating unmatched flavor for those bold enough to indulge. If you've ever taken one too many toques of your favorite strain and forgotten about a pot of soup on the stove, you might regret the first bite. That said, you are definitely not the first amateur chef to get lost in the sauce. But what happens when you plan to leave the stove on all day and reuse yesterday's remains in every meal for 45 years straight? At the Watana Panic restaurant in Bangkok, Thailand, that's exactly what's served every day. According to a new report, they just keep adding. The third generation restaurants have been serving a single batch of noodle soup from a giant cauldron for nearly half a century. The result, if you're to believe the reports, at Great Big Story, there's a constant flow of customers into Watana Panic. It's an imitable soup, the kind of flavor which can't be canned. And if Natapong, Kawin Untawang has its way, that flavor will be saved for years to come, with his own kids already growing up inside the restaurant and preparing for their turn to take over the famed family ladle. Of course, to get a bowl, you'll have to muster up the strength to look past the 4.5 decades of congealed fat and stew spillover piled up around the massive soup pot. But to build 45 years of flavor, you gotta break a few health codes. So there it is. Oh, man. Whoo, boy. Well, they just keep adding to it. That's the thing. Well, as long as they keep it over, as long as they heat it over 165, 180 degrees, and no bacteria is going to grow in it. So, yeah. So, like I said, there's going to be soup, the soup of the day. Soup of the day, soup of the decade, soup of thesis. I'm impressed that I even said that name. We'd be the house band at the Cavern Club. Yeah. It's just one of those weird things, Captain April, that I went on an audition one time, and even though I thought it went well, I still didn't get the gig, but another time, I didn't even get a call back to go on an audition for a band. Oh, yeah, we got this other guy. He worked out brilliantly. He'd been in these 10 other bands that went nowhere. I'm like, well, and they're like, well, we really don't know you. I'm like, well, yeah, okay, you don't know me. Hey, new face, new energy, new ideas. Yeah, but this guy has experience. Yeah, but he's been 10 bands that have gone nowhere. He's a failure. Well, he's a failure, but he's a proven failure. Okay, whatever. You see, guys used to get SGs because at the time they were cheap. Swear to God, when I was first starting to play, SGs were $300, $350. Well, that was the late 80s, but still. $350 for a used SG. And yeah, you can get them you get them anywhere. Yeah, that's why so many bands are formed by schoolmates. Yeah. Everybody in my high school looked like they were in a band. But they weren't. They had the stupid shag Bon Jovi haircuts and the clothes. They looked like they were in a band. Couldn't play a note. And I looked like I looked like, I didn't have long hair. My hair was short, back then. I looked like Glenn Tilbrook from Squeeze. Back then, kind of just whatever. You don't look like a guitar player. Well, what does one look like? I used to carry a picture of Rick Nielsen in my back pocket. Does this guy look like a guitar player? We got 10 people. We've been on a half hour. So, like I said, let's get into this whole Connor. Who the heck is Connor? Connor Campbell. Suspending Twitter accounts of major news organizations for publishing truthful stories was obviously incredibly inappropriate. That's not what happened. Twitter had a policy about hacked documents. We applied this policy equally. The merits of that policy are debatable, but it wasn't targeted censorship. About Connor Campbell. And Connor's gone. Elon Musk blocked you. Am I blocked by Elon Musk? Let me see. Am I blocked by Elon Musk? Who am I? By free speech, everybody's talking about this. Yeah, I'm at a point where it's just like, listen. Saw Squeeze at the Boulder Theater a bunch of years ago. No Tilbrook, though. He developed a fear of flying he was dealing with. I know people who hated flying. Listen, flying's not my favorite thing to do, but I do it. I understand the risks. I'm listening, but I do know statistically, at any given time, over the continental United States, there are 50,000 people in the air. So you think about that. A city the size of Stockton, California. A city the size of Toledo. They're just flying around. So it's, plus if you want to go anywhere, like if you want to go anywhere internationally, you're gonna have to fly. That's just the long and short of it. You're gonna have to fly. You're gonna have to get on a plane. So I always wanted to be an astronaut, flying in a jet plane is the closest I can get to be an astronaut. So I loved every plane trip I had. Yeah, I don't mind it so much. I don't mind flying. Yeah, it's kind of great. Worst airplane ride I ever been on was Finnair. The national airline of Finland, Finnair. I rode Finnair to Helsinki and then had to double back to Stockholm. Oh God, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. It was an old Lockheed L111. It was cramped. It was just I had a pounding headache. It was, oh God. I was so tired. I haven't been in an operational aircraft since about 1995. No, like I said, you're not missing a whole lot there, Cap and April. It's I call it. It's probably what you call necessary evil. Again, if you want to go anywhere, you're gonna have to fly. That's, I always tell people. I had somebody ask me, says about, when my parents went to Italy one time, oh, did they take the boat over? I'm like, boat? I don't think there's been a boat service since about the mid-'70s. And I actually did find out you can take a boat, a passenger ship. It's not a passenger ship, it's a cargo ship. You can take a ship from Europe to the U.S. and vice versa. You go on they're Cunard ships. Cunard. They do have limited bookings for passengers. Takes 10 days. Yeah, booking passengers on a freighter. You know, to me, I probably would go nuts. You know, get me to where I gotta go. My mom would tell me back when people used to go to Italy back in when she was young that they would, oh, people used to bring their own cars there. They used to bring their own cars. Well, yeah, mom, that was back when ships were, ocean liners were a thing, and you would go and you would bring your own car. You would stay for a month. You take you 10 days to cross the ocean, take you 10 days to cross it back, and you have those few weeks in between. Yeah, you can. So you can bring your So you can bring your car. Yeah. Yeah. My brother Dave would say to me, he says, "Oh, I wish you could take a boat. It'd be great to take a boat to Europe." I said, "Boat? No, it takes too long." Where have you got to go? Where have you got to go? You cross the ocean. You cross the ocean. You say, "Okay, yeah, there's the White Cliffs of Dover. Hey, how's it going?" You turn around and go back. If I ever achieve my dream of moving to England, I may do that so I can arrive along with all my stuff. Yeah, that's actually probably, yeah. It actually sounds good without the app. Yeah, England is actually cool. England's cool. I remember walking around St. John's Wood, where Abbey Road Studios is like, wow. I'm like, this is cool. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, this is cool. It's like bright. It was sunny. It was sunny the whole week I was there, except for the last day. If you go to Europe now, you won't be there when you get one. You won't be there when you get there. I know that's. I don't understand the question. If I make it to the UK, I ain't coming back. American accent? What American accent? I was like, yeah, but I was like, I was walking around St. John's Wood. It was like, this is like, wow, look at this. This is like the streets are clean. Like everybody's got this cool accent, and this is what we fought the revolution to get away from. This is pretty freaking awesome. Everywhere you go, it's hey mate, what are you off to? I'm like, no, you don't have to do the accent just for me. It was like walking around in a Monty Python movie. Nah, Gov. Lost my wallet in the canal. Nah, Gov. Everybody was very friendly. Everybody was very friendly. Actually, I said about that. I said about that to somebody. I can't remember where I was. I was in a museum or something. I was saying about how, yeah, I'm really relieved everybody's very friendly. And he said, because you always hear a story about, people, stupid American. Like, no. He goes, no, we like Americans. You guys are always so friendly. Like, oh, that's a load off my mind. And, there was, the place I stayed at was a hotel in Canada Water, which was built on, was in a couple canal, there was a couple canal docks, actually. One of them was full, and it said sign no swimming. Obviously that water was pretty rank. Another one, the locks were closed, but when tide came in on the Thames, some water would seep through. But I was there actually around the time of Eurovision. I would always go to Europe around the time of Eurovision because I always take that week off. I would take the week off of before Memorial Day. And Eurovision would fall on Memorial Day weekend, on that Saturday. That way I would get an extra day off because Memorial Day, we had Memorial Day off. So, and I tell anybody who's going to Europe for the first time, if you've never been to Europe, go before Memorial Day and after Labor Day. And they would ask me why. Groceries down the street for me has a new worker, comes from Florida. Accent makes her stand out like a sore thumb. I told her, sorry, we ain't much better down here. Oh, that's interesting. But anyway, I told her, I told people, like I said, you go before Memorial Day, after Labor Day. And people would ask me why. I said, well, before Memorial Day, stuff's starting to open up. You know, the tour season's not quite underway. It's cheaper, and it's, you know, it's warm, but it's not going to be oppressively hot. You go after Labor Day, same thing. Tourists have cleared out. Usually it's cheaper. You know, you can find a hotel pretty easily. Not quite winter yet, but, you know, leaves are starting to turn colors. It's really nice. You know, obviously the busy tourist season is from like Memorial Day to Labor Day. So, so they, you know, so they raise everything. But it was always fun. Always fun going. So someone from Florida, accent makes her stand out. My question would be, what's she doing in Australia? You know, what are you doing all the way out here? Lisa turning brown time. Lisa turning brown time. Oh, leaves are turning brown. All the leaves are brown. See this? See now? Listen, you always say about you have that dive in view or somebody flagged the stream. I'm getting that dip myself. It's going, and falls off a cliff. Then it comes right back up. That's something YouTube's doing. That's Lisa turning brown. Time. I was on my way. Okay, I kind of figured that. Hoy veas mir. See, what I love about this is, look, you can get, because of the cutaway here, get nice and high. Get up here, but no, can't do that. That's illegal. This right here. This is what you call a Florentine cut. I just learned that. One time I got assigned to a group to appear British base, not sure if it was the RAF or Army. For Remembrance Day, the band tried to play the Star Spangled Banner. Hey, Anthony Way. Is that Grateful Dead? Freebird! There's always that story about how, that somebody told, I can't remember who, when they were in Paris, I think it was, for 4th of July, and, or something, no, we can't remember what it was. But maybe Thanksgiving, I can't remember, I cannot remember what it was, but they brought out, all they knew was turkey. I think it was Thanksgiving. They knew Americans had turkey on Thanksgiving. So they had like turkey and like American flags, and like they didn't quite get it. Yeah, the Florentine cut is the easiest way to make a cutaway for an acoustic guitar. Yeah. Yeah, I just learned that. I'm like, yeah, I used to call it the pointy cut, you know, whatever it was. Just learned that. So, there's also that story about how in Japan they knew Christmas was Jesus and Santa Claus, and so they put Santa Claus up on a cross. I'm like, no, guys, no. See, that's not I Me Mine. That's just me playing an A minor. That's not I Me Mine. Morbid Fury says, really? Santa on the Cross. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how true that story is, but it is amusing. Yeah, like I said, I don't know how true it is, but amusing nonetheless. Obviously, if you're devoutly Christian, it's not very amusing, but let's see what we got. She sent me another article. Yeah, did Japanese workers really get the symbols? Okay, I see it. Okay, let's see what we got here. Japanese really get their symbols mixed up, Santa on a crucifix. If you type crucified Santa Google images, you'll see that various idiots have mocked up pictures of jolly old soul nailed to a cross, or gone better, donning Father Christmas outfits, posing like a dying Christ on the cross as their own, and all contribute to the world's greatest cultural confusion. Register for free. Well, I can't read it without signing up.
Somebody try Google it, Snopes at it.
Hold on. There we go. The Japanese department store once displayed Santa nailed to a cross. Japanese, about this rating, legend. Japanese department store once created a Christmas display featuring smiling Santa nailed to a cross. Origin. Driven by a thriving retail industry, cultural penchant for obligatory gift giving, and fascination with the West, the Japanese adopted and adapted several traditional Western holiday celebrations after World War II. Stripped of their meaning and bent to whims of retailers, however, these holidays have taken on rather some unusual forms in Japan over the years. The Merry Chocolate Company is credited with bringing Valentine's Day to Japan in 1958, with a twist that it should be a day for girls to give gifts to guys. Naturally, this led to retail industry creation of White Day on March 14th, an occasion for the boys to reciprocate all those chocolates they had been given a month earlier by buying white presents, such as white candy, handkerchiefs, or panties, for their gals. Likewise, Seibu department stores recast St. Patrick's Day as Green Day, a retail promotion featuring things green and Irish. It didn't work. The Japan Biscuit Association touted Halloween as an occasion that Americans celebrate by eating biscuits. When that failed to go over well, the custom melded into one of friends giving each other orange candy and cakes. However, the Western holiday that carries the most influence in Japan is not surprisingly the holiday that carries the most influence in the West as well, Christmas. Although St. Francis Xavier, a Spanish Jesuit missionary, brought Christianity to Japan in 1549, celebration of Christmas was mostly limited to churches and missionary schools until the mid-20th century. Indeed, Christianity was outlawed in Japan after a religious uprising in 1639, henceforth practiced only clandestinely until 1854. The exchanging of gifts at Christmas time by Japanese families began in a small way early century, and Japanese stores began offering Christmas sales in the 1930s, starting with the American occupation in Japan in 1945. Christianity enjoyed a brief surge in popularity, and Christmas took off in a big way and commercialized way. As you'd expect in a country where less than 2% of the population of Christmas, Christmas is a primarily secular occasion in Japan, with shops and businesses remaining open for the day. The Japanese have adopted many traditional trappings of kirusumasu, such as stores with elaborate displays of Christmas decorations, piped-in Christmas music, and homes made festive with Christmas lights, Christmas trees, and poinsettias. The elimination of religious aspects of Christmas and its hyper-commercialization have led to some unique and, to us, bizarre ways of celebrating it, however. The exchanges of kirusamusu cakes is not exactly Western tradition, but it doesn't sound too unusual to us. What we do find unusual is reports of Japanese Christmas customs, such as young couples exchanging presents of expensive jewelry, heading out to high-priced hotels, and being directed by scantily clad female elves to rooms complete with Christmas trees, where the lovebirds spend Christmas Eve in romantic bliss. Actually sounds kind of cool. The co-optation of familiar Christmas figures, both secular and religious, in the service of mass merchandising has also produced some rather curious blendings in real and imagined. Colonel Sanders dressed as Santa in a Santa suit, as KFC tried strenuously to promote fried chicken as the traditional Christmas meal. Nuns singing advertising jingles to the tune of Christmas carols. Christmas cards featuring a ghoulish Santa in a graveyard accompanied by the Virgin Mary on a broomstick. Elves plastered on sake. And a Christmas review featuring stripping nuns and 3 lecherous wise men. This sounds awesome. And sometimes they just don't get it all, such as when a Japanese TV station reportedly ran the movie Mr. Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, a disturbing film about English soldiers in a Japanese POW camp as its festive holiday offering. By far, most well-known of these Japanese Western holiday blendings is the notorious story of a department store somewhere in Japan that one year supposedly erected a prominent Christmas display featuring as its centerpiece a smiling figure of Santa Claus nailed to a cross. It's a perfect expression of the clash between the holy and the profane, the secular and the religious, the East and the West. It speaks to xenophobic fears. Those foreigners can't be trusted with our religion and our traditions, and it's a darn funny story. Examples. A few Decembers ago, a Japanese department store, desperate to appear westernized, and with it mounted an extravagant Christmas display featuring a life-size Santa Claus crucified upon a cross. The granddaddy of all cultural faux pas in Japan occurred just after World War II, when a Ginza department store rolled out the elaborate Christmas promotion, a smiling Santa nailed to a crucifix. The Japanese department store reputedly once put up a big Christmas cartoon which had Santa Claus prominently displayed on a crucifix. Whether or not this story, which has been doing the rounds in Tokyo for some years, is true or just another urban legend is unclear. An American Motorola executive recounted a famous story in 1945, the first year of the U.S. occupation of Japan after World War II, when shopkeepers in Tokyo Ginza district knew there was a big Western holiday coming and they wanted to capitalize on it. They knew there was this guy in a white beard and a red suit, and they knew there was a religious angle, he said, and the result was a little Santa Claus on crucifixes. A few years later, caffeine crash. A few years later in Kyoto, one department store filled its center window with an enormous effigy of a crucified Santa Claus. However, despite all the people who assert the tale of the crucified Santa is true and that they know someone who actually saw it, the literal truthfulness of this legend is suspect. No one to our knowledge has produced evidence documenting that such a Christmas display was ever used commercially in Japan, other than as a knowing joke, such as a photograph of the scene or a contemporaneous news account that recorded its date and location. As well as in true urban legend fashion, the details of where and when and how the crucified Santa was displayed are vague and vary from telling to telling. Santa appeared on a cross in Kyoto, Tokyo, the Ginza district, or a specific department store, such as Mitsukoshi. He was also represented with a gigantic figure, a life-size display, several small characters, a billboard, a cartoon drawing, and Santa was nailed to a cross in Japan in 1945 or 62 or 1990, anywhere between. Just after World War II to just a few years ago. As well as mixing Christian crucifixion, iconography, Santa Claus, an unlikely pairing, even non-Christians, nativity scenes, not crucifixes, or religious displays featured at Christmas time. And anyone with at least a bit of thoughtfulness would have to wonder why smiling, a happy, jolly figure would be depicted hanging from boards with nails driven through his hands and feet. Santa Claus in a creche might be a plausible mistake. There are claims that figures such as 7 dwarfs have been spotted standing in for the 3 wise men in various parts of the world. But a crucified Santa challenges credulity. As parody, it's believable. As an honest mistake, we find it implausible. Perhaps the key to this legend is timing. Despite claims of crucified Santas in Japan that span the entire post-war era, the earliest reports of this legend we found so far all stem from the early 1990s. Not coincidentally, up until that time, Japan had been riding the economic high of their bubble economy, and Americans watched in dismay as the Japanese business model was widely touted superior to the American. Dire predictions were made about the dominance of the American and world economy by Japan. And asset-rich Japan began snapping up foreign, especially American, real estate, such as New York's Rockefeller Center. Should we be surprised that xenophobic legend involving a clash between Japan and one of the most hallowed aspects of Western culture might arise from such circumstances? Alternatively, this story keeps getting deeper and deeper. Alternatively, we can ignore foreign trappings and simply interpret this as a legend. This legend as a commentary on the commercialization of Christmas, a holiday in which Jesus Christ has now been replaced symbolically, literally, by Santa Claus. This was the point artist Robert Sandella was trying to make when he drew the ire of religious groups over his painting of a crucified Santa Claus, which is displayed in the window of a New York Art Students League in December 1997. So, okay, continue. Read more Snopes. Okay, so this is an urban. So they classify this as an urban legend. Okay, so there you go. Urban legend. So, okay, well. Classified as urban legend. Yes, I really got this idea of getting to work on my Crucified NFT right now. Find my hotels. I want to find those hotels with elves for research purposes. Creepy pasta. Was Santa Claus popular in 1945? Probably, yeah. I thought it was a little later. No, St. Nicholas has always been around. The modern, it's, if you look up Victorian Santa Claus, he's a lot different. He has a long coat, long green coat, similar hat. I mean, yeah, there's different depictions through the years. When was the first depiction of Santa Claus? Oldest depiction. Oldest depiction of Santa Claus. Illustrated poem of Old Santa Claus with Much Delight, published in 1821. Was the first published description of Santa Claus using a reindeer-drawn sleigh. I mean, yeah, there's lots of different renderings of him. You know, some of them he's wearing a nightshirt, some of them he's wearing a very long green overcoat. You know, some of these looks like he looks like Gandalf. Yeah, Tom. The modern ones of the modern one is largely the Coca-Cola, from what I know. Hadn't turned Definitive History of Santa Claus, Coca-Cola Company. You know, Santa Claus. You know, yeah, Saint Nicholas. Yeah, he's always been a Saint Nicholas. Dates back, you know, according to Wikipedia, take it as you will, dates back to the 4th century. Saint Nicholas was a 4th century Greek Christian bishop. So, I mean, Night Before Christmas nailed down most of it. Yeah, yeah. So, all right. I've been on for about an hour. So, like I said, you know, Pete Ham, like I said, you know, I think I'm going to wrap it up now. Pete Ham would have been 75 years old, gone too young. Tragedy. So, like I said, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. It's about 11:30 where I am. Everybody, have a good day, good nights, good wherever you are. Yeah, these streams are always enjoyable. And listen, take care of yourselves. I'll probably be back soon. Maybe I'll do something over on Twitch as a game stream. I don't know. Whatever. All right, everybody, have a good rest of your night. Have a good tomorrow. Stay safe, everybody. And we'll catch you next time.